Okay, attribution models. When Nicholas told me that this was one of the questions, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. And I told him, you may not like my answer on best attribution models. You see, attribution models to me are like Santa Claus. Everyone likes to believe in Santa Claus because he's very good, brings gifts, but eventually you learn that Santa Claus does not exist. And I feel the same way about best attribution models. They don't exist. Just because an attribution model works well for one company doesn't mean it will work well for another. And so the best attribution model is one that works for you and your company based on what you do. Here's an example. Here's one. This is what's called the first interaction method. The first type of attribution, which says that the first click someone makes to find my website gets 100% of the value. So even if they find me from SEO or direct or from social media, it doesn't matter because the way they found me first was through pay-per-click. And so I give 100% of the credit to pay-per-click. Now, there's another model called the last interaction method. And this says it doesn't matter how they found me first, it's only what counts last. And this is what Google Analytics uses, is the last click prior to conversion. Now, you can change that in Google Analytics with some of your settings and filters. You can add more actions in there and change that last click. But that's the model, is that anything that comes before doesn't matter. It's only the last action that's valuable. Well, if neither of these work for you and you don't agree with them, don't worry. There's many more models we could look at. There is also the linear interaction method. And this says that if people find you in 4 different channels, you give each channel equal credit. And you can create your model that way. And that's very easy to do. You just split up the value among all channels. If you don't like that, then you can always go to the time decay, which is last click gets more value, first click lowers in value because they didn't respond. People obviously don't like this one, so they created the exact opposite called the position-based interaction. And so that's where we give the first click most credit. And see what I mean about attribution models? There's so many. And people debate, they argue, and that's why I say it's like Santa Claus. It doesn't exist. You find what works for your business, what works for you. Because attribution, I believe, any attribution model has 3 fundamental flaws. There are 3 problems with attribution. Number 1, you're assuming that all of your marketing is being done perfectly. If you assign a heavy weight to your pay-per-click campaign, saying that that is a fundamental part of our attribution model, you are assuming that you are doing your pay-per-click campaign flawlessly. Right? Because that's what attribution is all about. You're saying that this channel provides me this much value. Well, then there's a level of, well, can you improve that channel? Attribution models don't allow for improvement or for understanding that your pay-per-click campaign could be flawed in some way. And maybe that's why it's not delivering. And so that's one of the reasons I don't like attribution, is because each channel, I believe, should be being measured on its own in order to improve constantly. Look for why it's not converting. Look for why it's not doing well, and keep improving. Attribution will only assume that each channel is working perfectly. The next assumption is that you're assuming everyone visits your site using the same device all the time. Meaning most people will do some searching at work, then they'll go home and get on their PC, and then maybe they will sit on their couch with their tablet, and if they come to your website at work, at home, and on their couch, they could be using 3 different devices. And they could go to your website 3 different ways. And attribution will not answer that question. And so attribution assumes everyone uses one device to reach your website. And we know that's not true. The third thing is attribution does away with the concept of loyalty. You see, we're assuming people find us from all of these channels, but what about those people that already know about us, but just tend to search for us, or always tend to click on the ad because they don't know it's an ad? They think it's a search result. They just always search rather than type the website in directly. Or they know where they can go to find the website. And so we can't assume that everyone is looking for us the first time. They may have a concept of loyalty and understanding that this is where they want to go. And so I find that the focus on attribution is very top of funnel. It's the top of the funnel where we're looking at acquisition all of the time and measuring how well we are doing in acquisition. And what we're doing is we're forgetting about the middle of the funnel, which is loyalty. What are you doing with the customers you already have? They are the most valuable customers. They will provide the greatest value, even more than acquiring new customers. And so by looking at loyalty and not being focused on the top of the funnel, and by attribution method, I find that evaluating loyalty is much more rewarding and looking at how I can improve the customers I already have. I like to call this using both sides of your marketing brain. You see, for too long, I think in the agency world, there was always the creative and the logical would always fight within an agency. The creative people want to be creative, and the logical people say, no, we need to make money. And so they would fight. Now that's changed because it's not just the creative and the logical, we have digital and direct. And what I find fascinating is direct marketing has had beautiful revenue models, loyalty models for decades that they have used successfully. The problem is that digital marketers don't think they have anything to learn from direct marketers. And direct marketers, they see the digital world and they see things changing, and many of them don't want to ask the digital marketers what they can do to bring their data. And they see these things happening and they assume that their skills are passing by, when in reality, we need to use both. Digital marketers can learn a great deal from direct marketers and how they use data. And direct marketers can learn how to execute and deliver messages through digital of all the data that they have. And so by combining those two areas, we can really understand how to best build the loyalty of the customers that we already have in our database. I like to say the definition of direct marketing is giving the right offer at the right time to the right person. But with digital, we can give personalized offers specific to people where they will be. Not where they are, but where they will be, because we know the sites they go to through online, through display advertising. We can build banner ads and we can display them to people based on cookies. And so it doesn't matter where they go, they will see the ads that we want them to see. And so we can take the best of direct marketing and the data, combine that with the execution of digital, and enhance the loyalty of our customers. And in doing so, we get beyond that last click mentality, and we focus on those things that make us money.
Thank you. So, any question for this one?
Yes, on the right.
Yes. Where? Okay.
Thank you. It's a small question. I listened to you with my attention, and I don't understand you explain that finally the attribution model, it seems like useless a little bit. Because if we follow what you explain, we have to say, okay, the first click and the last click, it doesn't matter. So what we have to do?
I'm not saying that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know, but it's just a joke. But
yes,
you know what
yes.
I mean.
For some businesses, you have to find what model will work best for you, because some businesses are based on. I look at some businesses are based on producing a unique product every day, and so for them, how people find them that day is going to be very important. Other businesses have a much more long-term aspect to them and a much longer marketing cycle. And so to look at all of the channels, but not just in sequence, but over time, what they produce is going to be much more important.
So I believe so. It's very difficult for a small company, or I mean a startup, to start a business. To know this kind of thing, it's for you need data in a long time to, right?
Yes, yeah. For a startup, I would not look at building an attribution model right away. Build your data, start with basic segments, and start asking questions of the data. That why would someone do this? Why would someone look at this content and then purchase? And when you start asking questions like that and getting more, I find behavior to be more revealing of a customer and of their preference than the attribution. So look more at why someone came from a certain source and what they did, rather than trying to say that source is worth 10% of my budget. It will become clear to you over time what sources are profitable sources, and then you can start developing models based on that data.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. There is one question on the left.
Good evening. I'm Thibault. I agree with you about the attribution is not the future. There is no best model attribution. But according to you, is there other ways to analyze the complete scenario of someone before buying online? Is there other ways?
Yeah, absolutely. Other ways to evaluate. One of the things I love to evaluate is the number of channels that someone sees the days prior to conversion. That's a wonderful report that most analytics will provide. And you can see that, sometimes it's 24 days from first touch to conversion, but they've been to the site 7 times. And you can see what pages they looked at and try to understand. But the problem is, many times we look at one visit because it's interesting, and you can't make a decision about your marketing based on one visit. And so that's the danger in becoming too granular on one visit, because you can't base everything on that. But I do like to see, for some products, we have one client right now that they sell one product, but people come to the site 10 times before they buy the product, many times over 2 to 3 months. And so it's a very difficult decision to decide to buy it. And so what we're evaluating now is we've got the additional data point of time and how many times they come before they decide, and trying to reduce the time and reduce the visits in order to get them to purchase. I think he has one more.
Do you have one last question? Again?
Thank you, Nicolas. For example, have you ever heard about KPI, about segmentation, the behavior of each channel. For example, when the channel is mostly at the beginning of the journey, and when channel are, influencer, and when channel are at the end of the journey. I think that this kind of KPIs could be very interesting in order to analyze the complete scenario of marketing campaigns and so on.
Absolutely. The KPIs, and this is just things you learn as you evaluate and ask questions. We find people that search by brand name behave differently than people that don't use brand name. People that use keywords that are very general search very differently, and they also enter the site at a different page than those that use a long tail keyword. And so again, that's where I like looking at behavior based on certain KPIs.
It's very important to look at the behavior when you want to analyze the journey of the visitors, and I mean the clients.
Yes.
I would say that attribution should be 20% of the complete analysis.
Very good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have to now move on now to the next question. So, jingle, please.